Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the last section of this journey on public leadership. Welcome. As people are starting to pour in into the room, just wanted to introduce myself again. My name is Mario Picon. I am the director of the Governance Action Hub. I'm based just outside Washington, D.C., but originally from Peru. So as you can imagine, also many of the stories that Julio has been sharing with us sound very familiar, for good or for bad, in that sense. So as people are pouring in, I just wanted to remind you, we are the Governance Action Hub. We are a governance lab focused on the exploration of alternative approaches to collaboration and inclusion for better governance, and in the end, for better results, for larger impact, hopefully. And we cannot do it alone. This is part of a larger effort in which, as you know now the story. Julio, for example, is one of the governance explorers under the network. And the idea for us, the key for us, is to be able to connect people around shared interests and shared challenges, discussing not only the problems, but exploring how will a solution in a particular context look like. We emphasize a lot the understanding and the understanding of systems, the relevant systems and the relevant players, how to build over time alliances, how to connect with others, even with people that disagree with you. And this is why, and this is how it connects in the end what we do as Governance Action Hub with this masterclass. Julio has taken us over the last few weeks on a real journey, a journey for that person that may be idealistic, the person that may be practical, the person that simply is trying to make change happen, and the kind of practicalities that you find along the way. And he has been trying to share with you many things that most of the times you don't hear about in the schools, in the different schools, whatever it is, public policy, government, even business, and so. And the idea is very clear, right? Like, why is it that happened? Because everybody is specialized in their own thing. And they're trying to tell the story. And there's a story behind each one of these disciplines that has its own, many times, its own logic, its own patterns. But those stories do not interact many times or don't speak to each other. And you need that. You need to know about the journey. You need to know about how is it that you're going to go into battle, right? In this story, you need to know about the rules of the game, right? Like, are there space to even change them over time? You need to know about the other stakeholders, right? The people that you need to build alliances with. And so here's the point, guys, just as a general message to everyone. You don't need to do it alone. It doesn't need to be with us also, but you need of others in order to survive. And Julio is going to tell us all about survival today. That's going to be the topic today, but also in the journey ahead. If you find this content useful, even interesting, and you want to explore how to use it in your own organization and the work that you do in your respective countries, please reach out, contact Julio, contact me, contact the team. And we would love actually to exchange ideas with you. But also, if we can connect you with others within the class, within the master class, that may have some of those experiences, we would love to do that and find practical ways to do it. I'm going to leave you with that invitation, an invitation to reach out, to talk a little bit about what you do, and potentially being able to help and promote collaboration between yourself and between us and the work that you do. And also an invitation, because starting at the end of January, you will receive something on email at some point. We are also going to start this class on development in connection and association with the University of Maryland, where both Julio and I teach around development challenges. And I'm going to be leading that class during the semester. It's going to be an experimental class, very much with the idea of promoting collaboration on specific projects or challenges. So hopefully you will find it interesting. We'll try to make it asynchronous also, so people can collaborate even if they are not able to connect, given the time difference and so. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to that. Please look out for an email about this and other invitations. I'm also gonna share with you that, for example, we are working on two democracy labs currently, and we will be sharing more information about them. We are starting with a set of countries that include places as diverse as Zambia, Philippines, Serbia, Colombia, specifically on how to get into politics, which is something that you may find interesting over time. Julio, I remember from your campaign, you used to have this phrase that was very powerful, and I still remember it, right? Like that. In the end, if we do not get into politics, if we don't care into politics, we are destined to be governed by sometimes terrible people, right? It's not an option to be completely absent or abstract from politics, and that is an important point also to make. It's not only the technocratic knowledge or perspective that is gonna make things happen. Anyway, I'm gonna stop right there, extending that invitation. Hopefully, we can interact over time. I will not be able this time to stay until the end due to a medical appointment, but Julio and the team, Natida, Alessandra, are gonna be with you along the way and managing the Q&A. Looking forward to interact over time. And Julio, take it away, please. How do we survive?
Thank you very much, Mario. And thank you again to R4D and your leadership on bringing this workshop and masterclass to so many people that are excited and with the purpose of doing something better for the human race in general. And I'm honored to share the experiences that maybe could be helpful for you and it makes sense to you that you can apply sometimes in the future. So we're going to start as always. I'm going to share my screen and then do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Do you see the, yes? Okay, 1 second.
We do.
All right. Okay, so this is our last session. It's just incredible that almost a month and a half has passed since we started so quickly, but so satisfying. And thank you again to all of you to be here to share this. We said, in my opinion, to try to make social change, it's very important to be sure that that change is sustainable, that it is permanent over time, that could be funded by budget, that could be embraced by society in general, and that could be some kind of accountability over the development of that program initiative. And the only place in which we can do that is within government. I always, from the very beginning, I told you that I respect very much and I appreciate different kinds of leadership in any position that you can have, not only in government, not only in your workplace, but also in your family, with your friends. There is always a possibility to exercise leadership, always, and that could bring change. But having said that, it is also true that the only way to make social justice permanent, that could be institutionalized and could be sustainable over time, is in the framework of institutions, and particularly public institutions. So that's why I get into the government and I get into politics, because I understood after almost 35 years of trying to do something, I understood that unfortunately the only way to do that is within the government. And in my opinion, as I said from the very beginning, making social change involves many things. And unfortunately, when we are trained academically in different areas, public policy is just one of them, but there are many areas that used to train us to make that change. At the very end, we start believing that only knowledge will take us to that change, that the most important thing is to be an expert on something or to specialize in something, and that's the way to make change. And even though I recognize that knowledge is very important, is by far not enough. By far not enough. And we need to understand the whole process of making change. And unfortunately, the schools of public policy and other schools that has to deal with government and change do not teach us these things. I really don't understand why, but it's much more challenging than most people think. In my opinion, according to my experience, there are 6 dimensions that you need to understand and to also um, take into account when you try to make a social change from the very beginning, since you have the main idea. And most of the times, the idea that we have of making change doesn't come from our school, of our adulthood. Most of the times it comes when, since we are kids or we are teenagers and we want to do something meaningful for society. So the process of having that idea, of wanting to do something, even if our idea is so idealistic or so general, till the end, till the day in which that change is made, is a whole process. It's a whole process and involves, in my opinion, 6 dimensions. The first one is to understand our purpose, is who we are, and why we want to do that reform, and what is a reform, and what is leadership, and what is public leadership, what it means to exercise leadership within the government to make that idea happen. So that's the first dimension, to have absolutely clarity in our purpose and the place in which we should make that change. The second dimension, as we already discussed in the second session, was our idea, how to transform this general idealistic idea into something powerful, into something technical, into something that could be done, into something that is serious, that is evidence-based, that is practical in terms of changing people to change their lives. So how can we transit, how can we design sound public policy from a very general idealistic idea? But there is another dimension. When we have that, we need to communicate. We need to be able to influence people. If we have the idea, that idea is going to be implemented as far as we can convince enough people to make that happen within the government and outside the government. And unfortunately, again, human beings, we are not convinced by arguments or rationality. And that's something that took me almost 20 years to understand, that people don't get convinced because of ideas or because of arguments or because of rationality. No, people get convinced through emotions. And this is one thing that I share with my daughter many times. She's 21 years old. She's studying public policy and she wants to change the world. And she many times told me, I don't understand how I explain to people this thing and they don't get it, they don't understand. And she gets frustrated. And I said, well, maybe it's because the methodology that you are using, maybe you can adjust them. And she said, what do you mean? Well, what I mean is that in order for people to be ready to accept your message, they need to be emotionally ready to do that. So this means 2 steps. The first step is that you need to open people's hearts. And once their hearts are open, then you introduce the message. That's the sequence. So everything begins with emotions and how we make people be ready and trust in you and have the credibility to be open to your ideas, simple ideas that they can get and they can transmit to others. And that's the third dimension. It's about how can we communicate our idea, our policy design in a way that everybody could understand and get excited about that. But unfortunately, that's not enough. If we have all of that, it's very important to navigate through the jungle of government with many rules and regulations and laws and personalities and characters and the culture of the government and the way how governments are run across the globe. And that's why in our 4th dimension, we start talking about the rules of the game, how that idea, that story that you created could be done in a very specific setting, which is the government. If we don't understand the government, it's going to be very, very difficult to implement our policy design. As I explained, We can design a beautiful car, modern car, big, very effective, really powerful. But if the government is a place like Cusco in Peru, in which the streets are so narrow, it's going to be impossible to drive that car, right? So you need to adjust your idea to the rules of the government. And then we talk about the stakeholders outside the government. It's how you can create alliances, how to deal with allies, but at the same time, how to deal with enemies. And I share with you a different approach that is being told in popular culture about your allies being with you and your enemies being so distant. And the idea is very different, at least in my opinion. You need to engage with everyone. You need to engage even more with your opponents, our enemies, to try to understand their points, but also to get to know you as a human being and so on, and how to reach them in practical terms, how you're going to engage to them, how you're going to call them, how you're going to start the negotiations or the conversations, where, in a cafe, in your office, where. So those kinds of things are extremely important in the day by day if you really want to make your idea something real. And finally, the session that it's today, it's about how you can survive for the whole process. Can you imagine everything that we have shared in the last month and a half? Everything that we share is it's a process that is very complex, and the process is going to take a lot of energy from you. It's going to take a lot of effort, but also it's going to it's going to make your emotions to be at the highest in both sides, satisfactory emotions and not so satisfactory ones. But the process is really hard, and it's going to have a tool, a personal tool in you. I know many people that started like me, and I'm sure that they started in the same place that you are right now, in the place that you want to make change, that you have the illusion that you are really committed and you believe in yourself. I started there. And I know many people that started like me with the same approach. And after getting into the government and experience all this challenging and complex world, they change as people, as human beings. They were idealistic. They are no more. They start believing. They stop believing. They don't believe anymore. They were generous and compassionate from the very beginning, and they ended up to be cynical and very distant from people. People change. And why people change? Because this process is really hard. It's really hard and affects your emotions and hits you so hard that you start believing that maybe there is no solution for the world and there is no solution for your country. And I'm sure that you have heard many stories from people that tell you the same thing. Oh, I tried, I thought that this could be done, but now it's not possible. The world has not solution at all. So many people ended up that way. And I am very fortunate to God that that case was not mine. I went through all this process with very hard experiences, really, really hard experiences at the personal level, and I am still the same person. And but my approach has changed. When I started, I was really idealistic. I was idealistic, very romantic. I really believe that everything is possible and could be changed. And now I still believe that things can be changed, but now I am an idealistic, realistic person, which means that I still believe, but now I know how to. That is the difference. At the very beginning, I just believed, but I didn't know how to. Now I know how to because I went through that process and I know what, buttons to touch to make that happen, or at least to have more likelihood for that to happen. So my first advice before starting to discuss how to survive is that be aware of that. Never change in your essence. Never allow circumstances to change who you are in the very beginning. Don't allow that. because if that happens, then the systems win. If you allow that these hard experiences change you and you stop believing, it means that you are defeated and the system won. And that's exactly what we don't want to. We don't want the system to win because the system is unjust, is unfair, is unequal. And we don't need that happen to us. And I will try to share with you the things that I did in order for that to happen, to keep being the person that I am. Optimistic, still happy, but realistic. Believing, but believing in things that realistically could be applied. All right, so now we're going to talk about how to survive in this jungle. And the first thing that we need to remind, that we start talking in the very beginning, in the first session, is that leading, it's very dangerous. And we know that. Why leading is dangerous? We already discussed this in the first session, is because change shake things up. When you try to exercise leadership, it's because you want to break the status quo, because you don't like the status quo. The status quo is unfair. If you break the status quo, it means that are going to be people that are going to be challenged, that they need to lose things. And on the other hand, people that are going to like it, that are going to like your idea, but also they need to change, because they need to change their behavior to take advantage of the new situation. So when you are proposing change and you are shaking things up, it's like the roller coaster. Indeed. Why? Because in the roller coaster, I don't know your experience, but at least mine, you find that there are people that love it and there are people that didn't like it. That when the time ends up, there are people that, oh, it was amazing. And there are other people that went there and say, oh, it was horrible. I will never return here, right? So the roller coaster is something like that. It's an experience that it's breaking the status quo. It's a new change that you don't know. It's going to result in people that are going to love it because they want the change. But at the same time, it's going to be people that are going to hate it because they don't want that change. And that puts you in a very dangerous situation towards everyone. So when you shake things up, obviously there are going to be a group of people that are not going to like it and are the losers from the potential change that you're going to do. And we can understand this pretty easily. Sorry, one second. We're going to start this pretty easily because the losers are the ones that are going to lose because they were cashing in on injustice. Of course, in the status quo, they were benefiting from that. So they are not going to be in favor of you. They're going to oppose you. And this is very obvious, right? But it was less obvious is that also the winners, the potential winners of the change that you are proposing, also they are going to put pressure on you. And why? Because the winners want the change that you have promised quickly, very quickly. And not only that, but the winners also need to change. When you are trying to implement social change and you are proposing something new, this is something that most people don't fully see clearly. When you are proposing something new, you are not only affecting the losers, you are also affecting the winners, because the winners need to change to a new situation, to a new way of doing things. So you are going to be in the middle. You are the knight, and you are in your horse, and you have your idea, your policy, and your leadership, and everything. But you are going to have both sides, losers and winners, that are going to blame everything on you. And you need to know this from now. I don't want you to be in that position in the future and say, oh, I thought that the winners will help me all the time. Well, that's not true. They're going to help you half of the time, and the other half of the time, the winners are going to complain about you. And I'm going to ask you to do things that you shouldn't be doing. And winners are going to be all over you to try to push you to make decisions that you shouldn't be doing. So this is less clear. And I put this graph here, and I put the knight looking at the archer of the losers, because that's what you see at the very beginning, that you anticipate that only losers are going to be against you. But it's not true. Losers and winners, unfortunately, they're going to be all over you. And this is going to put you in a high personal stress. In a high personal stress. It doesn't matter if what you want to do is just is, um, is a program or is an initiative that is at the local level, or is just in an organization, or is at the national level. It doesn't matter. The truth of the fact is that the nature of what is going to happen is exactly the same. Of course, there are differences. If you want to make a change in a public organization, in a small public organization, the losers are going to be maybe people or 20 people, and maybe the winners 15 or 14, and that's everything, right? In comparison to a case like mine, in which I ran for president twice, I was deputy prime minister of my country, and did other things in Peru, and the losers were not 40, the losers were millions, and the winners were obviously more than those millions, because of the changes that we wanted to say. So the pressure in my case was extremely high. But the point that I want to make is that you don't need to run for president to feel that stress and anxiety, because the concept and the nature is exactly the same. Just put you an example. The stress and the anxiety and the pressure is so high, and the danger is so high, that I live with 3 bodyguards with guns 24/7 for years in Peru. And this is really stressful in general. How could you explain to your little ones, to my daughters, why there are people around us all the time with guns? How do you do that with a little girl of 5 years old? Every month, I'm not exaggerating, but every month, one of my bodyguards went to these neighborhoods in which criminals used to live and organize, used to ask them if I was on the list of the sicarios, of the people who, kill for money, because we wanted to be sure that if someone has already put his attention on me. So this is the kind of life that I had, and it was really dangerous, really stressful, not only in the terms of physical danger, but also in the terms of the politics and everything. But my point again is that it doesn't matter where you are, in what situation you are, the nature of the pressure that you're going to feel is the same. So what is going to happen to you? I'm going to tell you, I'm not a prophet. I don't have a crystal ball, but I went through many times this situation. So it's very likely that the things that I'm going to tell you that is going to happen to you will happen to you. What is going to happen to you that will put pressure on your emotions? The first thing that's going to happen is that you're going to be marginalized. What it means is that when you start proposing a change, the first reaction of people that don't like it is that they're going to start laughing at you. And maybe some of you have already gone through this experience. Remember me. When you start proposing a change, people are going to start laughing at you. And they're going to start saying, this guy, this lady, who is she? What kind of authority she is, what she believes she is to try to make this change. She doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. Where did you study? Where are your achievements? They're going to start laughing at you, ridiculizing you. And then I'm going to explain what is my interpretation of that. But marginalization, it's hard. It's hard because it doesn't matter if your self-esteem is very well positioned. It doesn't matter if you really believe in you at different levels of intensity. The truth of the fact is for everyone, being ridiculized, it's something hard. We're human beings, and we don't want people laughing at us because of our ideas. So this is the first thing that you need to be aware. And then I'm gonna share with you what did I do in order to manage that. But the first thing is that this is gonna happen to you. The second thing that is gonna happen to you, it's, sorry, excuse me. It's you're gonna be seduced. And being seduced means that they are gonna try to divert your attention on things. If they start laughing at you at the very beginning, and then you control that, and they see that they are not having any outcome or any result in ridiculizing you, they're gonna go to the next step. And the next step is try to seducing you. How is to seducing you? Because they are afraid of the changes that you want to make, they're gonna offer you things. They're gonna offer you positions. They're gonna offer you bribes. They're gonna offer you different things in order for you to divert your attention from the change that you want to make. One of the things, for example, one example that it's at the national level, that happens all the time, is when a politician is getting really popular and increasing popular in a country, the authorities use to offer him or to offer her an embassy outside. They say, oh, you are getting very popular, your ideas are interesting. I offer you the embassy in France or Washington. Why they do that? Because they want to get rid of you. And they are trying to seduce you to get your attention from your goal and give you something to just disappear you. That's one example of seduction. And many people get caught in these kinds of seduction. And why? Because they didn't believe in their purpose. If you really believe in the purpose that you want to make, there is no seduction that is going to defeat you. And you need to be clear that people who get caught in seductions of that kind, of offerings to be divert from their focus, it's because since the very beginning they didn't believe indeed. But this is going to happen to you. The third thing is when they marginalize you, they seduce you, and they say, oh my God, this guy, this lady is really hard to defeat. They're going to start attacking your personality. They're not going to start attacking your message. Because if you follow the steps that we discuss in terms of good policy design, good storytelling, we're assuming that your message is very powerful. So, and they know it. And that's why they are marginalizing you. They are seducing you because they are afraid, right? So the next step is they're going to start attacking your character. And attacking your character is a very effective way of trying to destroy you. It's a very effective way because we human beings are very deceitful, and we human beings are very bad in trying to separate things. We do not think rationally, saying, you know, if this person, his character is in this way, why is that related to the fact that she wants to be president? It has nothing to do. People have different dimensions in their lives, and people, unfortunately, we don't think and we don't make decisions based on that. We combine everything in one, and politicians who are really experienced, they know this. They know this, that they accuse you of doing something wrong in your personal life. Oh, it means that you are going to be a bad authority. Has nothing to do, but it's very effective. It's very effective. And the way of leading with that, we're gonna discuss how to deal with that. But the truth of the fact is that you're gonna be attacked personally. They're gonna start looking at your personal life, the relationships in your family, in your previous workplaces, and they're gonna start creating stories. This is another tip for you. Reality in politics doesn't matter. What matters in politics is perception, is what people think about you, not who you are in reality. You could be the most honest guy on earth, but if people believe that you are corrupt, that's what matters, what people believe. So stories that enemies and opponents construct around you, most of the times are not true, but people believe it. And because they believe it, they are effective. So that's why you need to anticipate this, and we're going to talk about how also some ways of dealing with this. Then you're going to be glorified, because when we're talking about stress, emotional stress, it's not about the emotional stress that comes from negative feelings. The emotional stress is also coming from good feelings and satisfactory feelings, and both of them are very dangerous. You're going to be glorified, of course, not by your opponents, but you're going to be glorified many times for the winners. The winners that are not only your allies, but also your followers, are going to put you in an altar. I'm going to tell you that you are the best, the smartest guy, the most handsome in the world, the most generous in the world. They're going to start glorifying you for different reasons. One of them is because people want to be close to power. Being close to power is exciting. We are human beings and we react that way. But they're gonna try to be close to you for other reasons, because they have personal interests, because they want something from you. You hold the power, and of course they're gonna gain something if they are close to you. And one of the ways to be close to you is to telling you that you are the best and glorifying you. So that's another way of why people around you are going to do that. And this is very dangerous, because feeling glorified is going to make you make a lot of mistakes. So that's another tip that I wanted to share with you. So emotional stress doesn't come only from people that want to destroy you. Emotional stress also comes from people who are supposed to like you and to admire you and to help you in making social change happen. And after glorifying you, of course, you're going to feel alone. And alone means that nobody will understand you. And this is also a very particular characteristic of exercising leadership. When you are exercising leadership, something really weird happen. Something weird happen. Again, it doesn't matter if you are in a project that involves only 40 people or 15 people, or you're in a project that involves millions of people, okay? Doesn't matter. The point of the fact is that something weird happens when you exercise leadership is the fact that you are surrounded by people all the time, but you feel the loneliest person in the world. You are going to be surrounded every single day with a lot of people, but at the same time, you are going to feel so lonely. And how to explain that is because nobody will understand you. There is no single person that will understand your decisions. And why? Because you are the only one who is holding all the information. In your position, you're going to have like complete information, or all the information that nobody shares combined. The decisions that you're making are going to be based on that information that nobody has. So it's very likely that the decisions that you're making, there are going to be people all the time that will never understand why you're making that decision. Not because you are dumb or because you are making mistakes. Yes, of course, you are going to make mistakes. But let's assume the cases in which you are making a sound decision. Even in those cases, people will not understand because they don't have information. And that will make you feel alone. Remember another thing is that when people are outside and are looking at you making decisions, in their minds, there are only two scenarios, okay? The right and wrong. In their minds, the decision that you are making has only two options: the good decision and the bad decision. But when you are exercising leadership, in your mind, you have only two options: is the bad decision and the worst decision. Because things are so complex that almost never is the good option and the right option. Almost never. Most of the times, the only options that you have in front of you to make is the bad decision and the worst. So you need to choose what is the less evil in those cases. So anyway, any decision that you make in those circumstances, in those conditions, most people will never understand. And that is why they put a lot of pressure on you, and you're going to feel alone. And all these things are bad news for you. When you are following the whole process from the very beginning to policy design, to the crafting the story, to getting to the government, the stakeholders, and all of that, all this tension that you're going to have, all of them are bad news for you. And it's very important for you to manage, because if you don't manage that, then your purpose and the social justice program or initiative that you have, it's done. So one thing that it's really peculiar and could help you to understand the role of exercising leadership and how exercising leadership it's so related to your emotions and the tool and the personal tool that you're gonna bear is to remember where the word leadership started from the first place. So this is an image of the Roman army. This is the traditional Roman army, and the Roman army and many armies in the world in general, they have one person which is on the front that had the flag, the banner, in this case the eagle, and that person that was on the front, their mission, I always was trying to understand why in the armies there are always a guy who is in the front with a banner, a flag of something like an eagle. Why? It's so, they're going to be killed immediately. You are telling the enemy, I'm here, right? Well, what is the purpose of that person? The purpose of that person is to give a clarity of the army for their organization and follow instructions, and to see the soldiers in different positions in the army to see what was the center of gravity of the army. So if you see that banner on the flanner, you say, oh, okay, that's the center. That's the center of gravity of how the army is moving. So that was the purpose of this person. But the flip side of being in that position was that you are the first visual target of your enemy, right? It's very likely that you're going to be the first one to be killed, right? So and that's really interesting, because the word leader comes from the Indo-European root, which is late, and late means to lead, to guide, and to die. Late comes from that. In this map, for instance, we situated the place in which the human language was created. According to science, 35,000 years ago, the human language appeared. 35,000 years ago, appear in that area where the circle is. This is Central Asia. And that language is called the Indo-European language, which is the origin, which is the mother tongue of all the languages in the world, including the Chinese, Mandarin, and including Japanese, and including Spanish and French and English. Everything started here and then started spreading through the world. So many, not all, but many of the roots of the words that we still use until now comes from Indo-European language. And the word leader comes from a root in the Indo-European language, which is late. That means three things: to lead, to guide, and to die. And why? Because late was the name of this guy. In the armies, the name, as you have the generals, you have centurions, you have all these names of the soldiers, but this soldier, their name was late. Why? Because his purpose was to guide, his purpose was to lead, but at the same time was to die, because of the position that was taken. So this is very consistent of what we are sharing here, that you are going to be exposed to all those things. And when I am sharing with you this idea of dying in the process, it could mean the whole spectrum of things that could happen to you. It could start with dying. It means that it's going to have a permanent emotional effect on your character, on your personality that will change you forever. Or indeed could mean that you're going to die physically. Absolutely. It will depend on the intensity, the circumstances, or the nature of the social justice that you are pursuing. But you need to be aware of, those things. So, okay, so let's start sharing my experience on how to deal with these things that is very likely that are going to happen to you in the process of implementing policy reform within the government. Marginalize. The best way of dealing with people who are laughing at you is to interpret that well and to tell you, people, listen to me, people only laugh at you if they are worried. When people don't care about what you're saying, they don't put attention on you. They don't say anything. They indeed, the only thing that they have is indifference. When you're saying something that is not meaningful, that you are saying something that has no meaning at all, that make no sense at all, people don't spend time in commenting what you're doing. People only comment on what you are doing. It is something new. It is something original. So when you start doing something, when you believe in something and you start doing that and people start laughing at you, is the best signal that you are on the right track. And you need to interpret that. And please, don't feel bad because that happens. Every time this happens, one feel bad. But process that information and try to interpret that it means that you are on the right track. That people is laughing at you, is ridiculizing because they are nervous. They are nervous. They are worried. They say, oh my God. So that's good news in other terms. What happens when you are seduced, when you are being offered things to distract your attention, to make you not to focus on the change that you want to do? Well, I did two things. The first thing is to give a step back. That's always what I do, is to give a step back or two step back and start remember myself is why I'm doing this, why I decided to get into the government, why I decided to get into politics, what is my purpose, and what is the meaning of all of this. And when I start remember the very beginning, I start truly understanding why I am here and what is really important and what is not important. And that helped me a lot in making decisions where I am seduced with opportunities that are intentionally created for me to get out from there. But the second thing that I do is to keep my eyes on the ball, that keep my eyes on the reason why I am there. And also remember myself that if my opponents are seducing me, is because, again, I am on the right track, right? So these things are not easy. I'm not saying that this is going to be really easy. What I'm saying is that if you are aware of the things and you are anticipated on these things that are going to happen to you, it's going to be much easier for you to start the process of rationalizing this and to try to interpret why your opponents are also the people who are helping you. They are reacting in that way. What to do when you are attacked? You're going to be attacked in different fronts. You're going to be attacked by people that you don't even think the possibility that you're going to be attacked. This is going to be all the time a lot of uncertainty of the time and how they're going to attack you. It's going to make you feel really insecure in terms of when and how this is going to happen. but it's going to happen. I'm telling you for a fact, this is going to happen. And how can you respond to attacks? The most important thing about attacks is that everyone is looking at you at the moment that you are being attacked. It doesn't matter if you are attacked in TV, in a TV station, in a radio station, in a podcast, or in a social media, in X, with a post, and you can be attacked, or in a newspaper. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that independently of the mode, people are going to see how you react to that attack. People are more interested on how you react rather than what you respond. And that's why the how beats the what in what you respond. Again, people are going to be more interested in how you respond rather than what you respond. I'm going to put an example. If they are attacking you for corruption, let's say, oh, John Smith is a corrupt guy because I know this. You have two options. One option is said, how in the world, people are attacking me. I've been honest all the time. This is outrageous. You have that option. The other option is telling, well, if this person believes that I am corrupt, I'm telling you to the authorities that I am open to any investigation. If they want to look at my finances and everything, I'm open to all of that because I have nothing to hide. You have two options, okay? So people are going to be, you have said nothing about the essence of the attack, but the difference is how you are reacting. When people look at you reacting in the first place, like exasperated and everything, they're not going to like it because they're going to see you're not in control of yourself. Or maybe you are hiding something. That's why you're so nervous. But when they see you in control and pause and say, if they are believe, I can understand that people are very sensitive to corruption because we have a long story of corruption in our country. And I can understand because I've been victim of that. So I cannot criticize people that are sensitive for politicians that they could believe that they are corrupt. That's why I am open to any investigation. If I am open to any investigation, I also ask my opponents to be open to the prosecutor office for their own investigations. Great, because you are not only defending yourself in a very calm pause and you are open to investigation, but at the same time you flip the situation and you counterattack and you said, I'm open. Are my enemies open to the investigation? So you put the blame on them. That is the difference. Okay, so people are more interested on how you respond rather than what you respond. When I explain this to you, you could say, oh, Julio knows this very well. Oh, Julio managed this. Well, the answer is no. Indeed. It took me time to understand this. And the very beginning, I reacted the first way, exasperating myself. Why? Because I've been honest all my life. Because I've been trying to do the right thing most of the times. So I was exasperated. Of course, I was frustrated because someone was attacking me for something that was completely false. So at the very beginning, I was reacting as a normal human being. But after time, I learned that there are other ways of reacting as a human being, which is being in control of yourself. And when you're in control of yourself, you transmit trust and you transmit credibility. But this is not automatic. You need to learn this. This is a process. You need to be years on that to try to manage the situation and try to control yourself all the time. So attacking, it's something that, as I said, has less to do with what you respond and have more to do with how you respond to personal attacks. There are going to be attacks that you need to respond always in how, but there are going to be other attacks that maybe it's not a good idea to respond. And, and there is no solution to that. You need to have the criteria and the feeling to who you respond or not. And why? Well, one of the explanations is that when you respond to everybody, you are giving exposure to those everybody. So many people that are unknown, that they want popularity, that they want to be known, they attack you, expecting you to respond. So the population knows, oh, that guy existed. And they put attention on them so they can gain popularity based on you. So that's one of the cases that you need to figure it out to start to measuring if it is worthy to respond to attacks that has not repercussions. But there are other cases in which every single attack you need to respond because, as I said, people made up their minds and they make decisions not based on reality, but based on perceptions. How you do when you are glorified, and we're going to talk this later more, but one of the things that you need to do is to leave the arrogance at the door. The arrogance doesn't help. We're going to discuss this in a few minutes, particularly because it needs a complete chapter to deal with that. But being glorified is as dangerous as being attacked. And being glorified and being attacked in general is a test. It's a test of your character, and also it's a test about your mission. If you are marginalized, seduced, and attacked, and you give up, it means that your purpose was not big enough. It means that you didn't believe enough at the very beginning. But at the same time, if you are glorified and you succumb and you collapse to that glorification, it means the same, that you didn't believe in the first place in what you wanted to do. So it's a test. It's at the end, it's a good thing. You know, I've been exposed to all these things and with really high intensities that you cannot imagine. All the things that happened to me in public or in private, that I've been dealing with all these things. But now that I see this over the years, I see it as a blessing, because those were tests that life and God put on my life to try to know better who I am, what I want, and if my purpose was a real one and a legitimate one, and if I did want change for the real and not only for myself. So that was good at the very end. But you need to be aware of that possibility of using these experiences, which are hard and painful, but at the very end to put it in a very positive way, because it's true that at the very end, if you take the lessons from this, are very helpful and will help you to grow as a human being. And what to do finally when you feel alone. When you feel alone, you need to find your real people. When you feel alone, the only pressure that you have in all this mess is to find the people that really love you. Is to find people who really know who you are. The people that love you not because you are running for president, or the people who love you not because you are the ministry or something, or the CEO of that organization, of the boss of this team. No, you go to the people that love you because they love you. Because they love you unconditionally for who you are. And who those people are? Well, your best friend, your partner, your girlfriend, your spouse, your husband, your family members, right? The people who really know who you are, they care about you, they love you unconditionally, and they are the only people who really can help you when you feel alone and you feel all these feelings. The best friend that you have in school since you were a kid that knows everything about you, those are the best people that will help you when you are being exposed to all of this. And one very revealing image about this is the one that I'm sharing with you. It's interesting, but when I share, this is the second time I share this image. This presentation that I made hasn't been made only for you. This is the first time I'm showing the presentation. But this image is the second time that I present this image. And the first time that I did it, people believed when I showed that I was going to say that you, the one who is implementing policy reform, is the guy that is stand up with the rifle, right? And the guy who is holding, it's the followers or society of whatever. But indeed, what I'm trying to say is exactly the contrary. In this image, you are the person who has been holding up, and your best friend or your sibling, your sister, your brother is the one who is stand up with the rifle. And indeed, the people who love you is the ones who are stand up and have the tools, and you are the one who need to rest on them. And that's my main advice to you. That look for those people and the times when you feel that you need more energy and you need to think about the pain and the bad things that are happening to you because you are committed with social justice. All right. So these are all bad news for you. And if you are aware, if you are conscious, if you really believe, and if you take your time in trying to read why people around you are behaving that way, you can transform this bad news in good news. As I said, how can you interpret marginalization? How can you interpret attacks, seduction? How you can deal with glorification and also to feel alone. But at the very end, most people that I've been talking to about doing these crazy reforms that we have in our minds, because we want to change the world and we have these crazy ideas that indeed many of them are possible, and I still believe that they are possible. Most of the times we believe that this pressure and emotional pressure and the pain and the suffering and the stress and the challenges is because the circle is imposing this on us, right? The losers or the winners, the followers, the opponents, the enemies, and everything. And in part it's true. But the biggest part of what this pain is happening to us is because of us. Because ego is our worst enemy. You believe that when you're trying to do something in your community, in your locality, in your province, in your country, you believe that the enemy is there, which is partially true. But believe me, the worst enemy in implementing social justice is yourself. The worst enemy is your ego. Because of your ego, marginalization, seduction, attacks, and feeling alone is going to be exponentialized. It's going to be expanded, and it's going to have much higher consequences because of your ego. So the thing is, the ego is the dragon. We at the very beginning of this workshop, we explain why we use this medieval story about the princess and the knight, and we share that indeed these are this idea of this romantic story is not true. That what the story of the medieval knight and the princess want to tell you is about how we human beings grow and how we confront, we deal with our mission and our purpose. And one of the key issues is to try to defeat ourselves, is to defeat our insecurities, our frustrations, our worries. And that is the dragon. If we defeat the dragon, we can get the princess. The princess is the purpose, is the mission accomplished. But in order to do that, the worst enemy is the dragon. And the dragon is yourself. As I said, your insecurities, your fears, your worries. One of them, of course, is ego. So the question is, I'm going to put this out, and then we're going to start receiving questions from you to finish the last comments. But the question is how to manage ego. Because it's not easy. Everyone needs attention. Everyone, it's very nice to hear that we have some positive qualities. We are human beings, but how can we manage ego in a way that that cannot compromise the policy reform that we are doing? And here we have two things that I share, that I advise you to do. The first is to manage our hungers. We are human beings and we need different things. And that's okay. You don't need to feel bad if you feel, oh, attention is nice. Oh, the spotlight is nice. Oh, being popular is nice. That's okay. What is the problem? The problem is that when you magnify those things, and those things ended up capturing you and ended up being the whole purpose of the main goal of what you are doing. That's the problem. And unfortunately, most people get caught in this situation. So what it means to manage your hunger. We human beings, because of the way we are biologically and emotionally constructed, we have different needs. We have needs of attention. We need attention. Every single human being needs, and attention, it's important. But at the same time, we like self-importance, right? So we like to feel important. And that's okay, as I said, it's a characteristic of human beings. But also power and control. We are looking for control because control reduces our levels of anxiety. If we have control, it means that we're going to be okay. It means that we're going to be safe tomorrow. And that's why human beings, as a community and individually, we're looking for control all the time, how to predict the future. And many disciplines like philosophy, economics, psychology, and so on has been designed to understand the world in order to predict the world. Because if we can predict the world, we can control it. And if we can control it, we can reduce our levels of anxiety. That's the thing. So feeling this need of control and power is not a bad thing in principle. As I said, what is a bad thing is this is converted in your final goal. And also intimacy. Why? Well, because when you are during this process of policy reform, in which it's taking so much energy from you, that it's gonna be so challenging from you, you're gonna feel emotionally so heavy that you want to share what is happening to you. Of course, you want to be close to people, to tell them how you feel, how your emotions are running all the time. And that's okay. Again, feeling that, feeling the need of attention, feeling the need of self-importance, power and control, and try to feel close to people are normal needs. The problem, it's another one. And I would like to to discuss what it means to manage your hunger. Is that, unfortunately, when you get there and you start feeling these things that are on your axis, you start getting confused. And you're starting confusing the means and the end. You're starting believing that the purpose is no longer your goal because it's much more satisfactory to receive attention. Because you feel so good receiving attention that now attention becomes your priority. Attention becomes your idol. And the purpose start deconstructing. The purpose start disappearing from you because attention now is more appealing to you. Self-importance is the same thing. Every single human being is important. Every single human being. And we need to feel important and relevant in our communities, in our families. But there is a point in which when you are going to exercise leadership, that you're going to feel so important and people are going to make you feel so important that you're going to start believing that you are important. And you're not. That's the thing. Even in the highest point of your power, control, and leadership, you're going to believe that you're more important than the rest, and you will never be more important than the rest in any circumstance. It's just an illusion. It's just an illusion. And we're going to discuss in a few minutes why I believe that it's just an illusion. Power and control, the same thing. So many people, they get into politics, they get into government because I want to make change and I have this idea. And then they start feeling the power. And say, oh, this is nice. This is nice. I can tell someone to do something and they do it. That's cool. I said, okay, let's do that. Go there. And people do it. It feels really cool, feeling powerful and in control. So many people, unfortunately, is not the exception. Unfortunately, it's most people get there. And when they feel power, they get power and put it as a priority. And your purpose is in the second list. And that's a problem because all your decisions, when you feel that attention, self-importance, power and control are going to be your priority, what it means in terms of your purpose, what it means is that the decisions that you're going to make are going to be based on those, on attention, self-importance, power and control, are not going to base on your purpose. So that put in danger what you're going to do and change you as a person, and as I said, disappear the possibility of social justice and policy reform to be a reality. So these are the challenges and the tests that you're gonna have. And finally, a final comment to those things. If you see it in a different way, attention, self-importance, power and control, and the need of intimacy are drugs. What is a drug? Well, people, there are more than one reason why people get drugs, but drugs is a way of feeling, of fulfilling an empty space in yourself. You have some kind of emptiness and you need something to fill that emptiness for you to survive emotionally. So that's why people get into drugs. That's why people get into abundant alcohol. That's why people also need so much power. And that's why people need so much attention and control and feeling important, because they have that emptiness. And one way of feeling that emptiness is to drugs. And drugs are not, as I said, drugs or alcohol, but are all these things. Even the self-importance, arrogant people are people that are really insecure. Remember this. When you see a guy or a lady who is her or his ego is really high or is really arrogant, and they are so secure of themselves when they are talking and expressing and everything, it's very likely that that person is really insecure, that is trying to fill that emptiness of low self-importance and try to expose and to try to make feel people that they are exactly the contrary. So another way of looking at these hungers is to see that you have emptiness, and indeed the purpose was never important to you. that was important to you from the very beginning, but even you didn't know that, was to get to feel this emptiness that you have. So this is another test that is going to be important because it's going to make you understand much better who you are. And if you start in the process, if you are in the process and you start feeling that attention, self-importance, power and control and intimacy are capturing you, well, the best way of dealing to that is going to the therapist. It's not to remain in power. People used to remain in power to try to solve this problem, but those problems are not resolved in politics or in government. These problems are resolved with professional help. And don't be irresponsible of trying to fill your needs, instead of and risking the well-being of your community. It's not, as I said again, it's okay that you feel the need of all these things. We are human beings. What is not okay is that you allow them to capture yourself and to make those things a priority and take the purpose in a second list. So this is one way of managing your egos. Be aware of that, identify all of them, and remember your purpose. And the second and final advice to manage your ego, to survive to this process, not to become another person, as I said, not to transform yourself in a different person and change your essence, and to keep who you are in a good way, is to anchor yourself. And what I mean by anchor yourself, what I mean is you need to be very clear from the very beginning what is your role and what is yourself. People, when they get into powerful positions, they start getting confused about their role and about their self. They believe that their role that they are having is who they are, and that it's very difficult and gets things very complicated, because when they feel attention and they feel the power and control, they cannot differentiate it. And I'm gonna explain that very carefully, the role and self. When you are a leader, it's like you are a provider, you are a supplier, you are a business, and businesses are your clients, and the clients is your followers, or the clients are your the country or the society or the community, and you are the leader who are offering something. So your role is of someone who is offering something, and the clients, the followers of the community, are expecting a service from you. It's a transactional thing. You are offering change as a leader of something, of one initiative, and the followers are expecting something from you. So that's your role. Your role has nothing to do with who you are. Who you are, of course, it's manifested in some of your ways of living. But if you differentiate your role and who you are, it's going to be much easier for you to manage the situation. One of the things that happen to people who start in the government, for instance, is that when they get to very high positions, they feel so powerful and everything. And when they are removed from the position, or when they resign to the position and they return to their daily life, nobody called them again. So when you are like the minister, or you are the boss, or you are the congressman, everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody invites you to cocktails, and everybody invites you to dinners, and everybody wants to be with you and call you all the time and send you emails and WhatsApp, and you feel so important. But then when you resign, on your term ends, on you are removed, whatever, but you return to your personal life, nobody called you. The same people that last week were trying to reach you, nobody wants to talk to you again, and you start getting into depression because you say, oh, how this happened to me? Nobody's putting attention on me. And the problem is not the problems of the people, it's your problem that you got confused. And you got confused between your role, what you were representing for the community, and who you are in real life. If you differentiate those things, you're going to save a lot of frustration. You're going to save a lot of dissatisfaction and pain. If you understand that when you are leading and you feel powerful, it's because you are trying to give a service and people are expecting that service. That's it. That's it. Has nothing to do with you. The second thing to answer yourself is be aware of your center of gravity, which is not easy, but you will learn. You'll learn with hits, and you will learn how to do that and what it means. Your center of gravity. I believe that every person in the world is like a prisma. It's like a prisma that we receive the light, which is life given by God or given by what you believe. And that light that comes into us as a prisma manifested in different colors, in multiple colors, right? And each color is one dimension of our personality, of our life. Like here, for instance, purple is us as son or daughters. Blue is who we are as a parent. Light blue is how we are as a worker, and then how we are as a member of our community, and then how we are as a politician, how we are as a professor. Different colors are different manifestations of who we are in different dimensions of our lives. And all those colors are indeed who we are, right? But people, when you are in government, when you are exercising authority and you're exercising leadership, people are looking at you and only one color. Only one color. The leader, the authority, only one color. So if you understand that, you will finally understand that when people criticize you and tells you that you are the worst in this world, that's impossible. Why? Because nobody knows who you are. So nobody could tell you that you are horrible because they don't know who you are. You have so many colors, right? But on the other hand, when you have people that are telling you that you are the greatest, you are the smartest, you are the more handsome guy in this world, you shouldn't believe that either, because they don't know who you are. They are only seeing you in one color, but they don't know who you are as a parent. They don't know how you are as a spouse. They don't know how you are as a worker. They don't know. So if you get this idea about the light, about this prisma and the different colors, you will finally understand that when people are criticizing and when people are glorifying you, none of them are telling the truth. You cannot be horrible and you cannot be so good. You are who you are. And the only people who know who you are very few, are maybe 3 or 4. Your family members, as I say, your partner, and that's it. No more. And that will help you. Get your center of gravity. And with these arguments that make sense because they're true. And finally, is the source of power. And I recommend you to follow this advice because it's extremely helpful to manage your hungers and try to control your needs for attention, self-importance, power and control, and intimacy too, which is the following. Source of power. You see this castle? This castle is made by Lego, right? Little pieces, which we can do that. When I was a kid, I loved this. I didn't have the opportunity to have Lego because my family doesn't have the means to buy me Lego. That was really expensive. Still are expensive, but I love it. So this is a castle, a medieval castle with little pieces of Lego. So let's imagine for a moment that this castle is the power that you have. So you are a boss, you are a politician, you are a congressman, you are a minister, you are a high technocrat in government, and you have power. This is your power, okay? So what most people think, and I see that, in my experience, in my daily work in politics and government, when they have the power, they believe that the power is theirs, that they have the power, that the power is their power. It is my power. I made this effort. I did all these things. I am powerful because it's my power, right? And they are completely wrong. And if you get to understand what I want to share with you, it's going to be so easy for you to control your needs for power and control. Power is not something that you create. Power is something that people gives to you. And people gives power to you because they are expecting you to do something for them that they cannot do themselves. That's why they are looking for leaders all the time, because they need change in their lives, but they don't have the courage, they don't have the skills, they don't have the passion, and they don't have the drive to do all these things. That's why they look for leaders. So this is an exchange. They give you their power for you to do the things that they want to do. And what are the power of the people? The power of the people is every single piece of Lego. Every single piece of Lego that has been made to construct this castle is the piece of every single person. And every single person gives that piece to you for you to build the castle that makes all this power. Okay? So when you start confusing and you start believing that you created that power, that you are wonderful, that you are amazing, and you have all this power, and you start making bad decisions, what is going to happen, I'm telling you, is that day by day, one person is going to take this piece from the castle and is going to take it out. I said, I don't believe this guy, I don't believe this lady anymore, because he became so arrogant, he became so important, and I don't believe. And this is going to take out the pieces from you. And over time, you're going to lose all that power from the people, because the source of power is the people, it's not you. If you understand that, it's going to be much easier for you to control your needs of power and control, to really understand that it's people who give you the power to administrate the power. People are trusting you to administrate their power. It's not yours. So these are ways in which you could manage your ego, manage your hunger, and answer yourself. So now I would like to open the floor to questions and comments to make my final feedback at the end.
Great. Thank you so much, Julio. We've now reached our Q&A section. So before we move on to take live questions, we actually have a pre-submitted question from Tope9 at SOAS. I don't think I see him connected, so I'm actually happy to read the question on his behalf. So he asks, for young reformers entering high-risk political environments, what practical frameworks can help them survive politically and emotionally, balancing personal safety, public credibility, and long-term impact without burning out or compromising their values? Oh, I think you're muted.
Yeah. Well, I think the response to that question was this session, the complete session, that I hope that I have shared some practical ways of dealing with that. If I could wrap up, what I would say is that this requires a lot of emotional maturity. Emotional maturity is really scarce, because emotional maturity is a combination of two efforts. The first is to be aware, and the second one is to go through experiences. If you go through experiences, you will understand, you will feel, and you will know what it is. But if you go through experiences and you are not aware that this is the way to manage that, it's going to be useless, right? There are so many people that they went to pain and suffering and they don't learn anything. And they are old and they didn't learn anything from life. But there are other ones who go through these situations and they learn because they have the combination of the experience and the awareness about that. So I will say that sharing all these things that I share with you, and if you are aware and you go through experiences, you will learn and you will survive. Everything that I'm sharing with you is not the fact that overnight, that tomorrow you say, oh, I know how to do it. No, that doesn't happen. Until you experience this, you will not fully understand until it happens to you. So what is the need of the things that we are sharing you? It's to anticipate you, to put you this on your radar and to make you aware of that. That's the first factor, being aware. I'm trying to you to be aware for the time that this happened to you, and you will fully understand. I will love that when I was in my 20s, I will have someone who have told me these things. I didn't. I had to experience myself, and I needed to interpret and to try to understand. Much older, I had some mentors, really brilliant people who helped me to try to process that. But in my early ages, I had nobody who could tell me, these kinds of things. I will have saved a lot of years and a lot of circumstances if I will know that. So that is the purpose of what we are doing now.
Thank you so much, Julio. I think we're all very lucky to have your experience and your advice. So I think now with that, we can move on to live questions. I think there are a few in the Q&A section. So I'll actually ask those who are interested to please raise their hands, and then we can actually enable your microphones and you can ask Professor Julio directly. I'll just give you a few seconds if anyone's interested. All right, I see we've got two hands, so I will move to Mary. So you should be able to speak now.
Okay. Hello. Thank you so much for this series. It's been really impactful, just learning from someone who is more experienced. I am newer to this field, but I have some experience doing some political campaign work and also working in nonprofit. My question is a little bit about the earlier part when you were talking about having some kind of internal values or something that acts as an anchor. Um, and I just wanted to ask, how did you keep from becoming very jaded by the work that you're doing, especially when you're working in like higher risk situations or communities? How do you prevent yourself from falling into the gap of assumptions or even expectations and rising above conflicts, just being focused on the truth, like what you were saying? What was guiding you?
All right. Thank you, Mary, for the question. I'm going to try to respond as accurate as possible because it's pretty ample, your question. But first of all, to recognize that the best way to deal with this is to go through that experience. I will be lying to you if I will tell you, oh, you know what, I did that and it was wonderful, and yeah, I learned that. And that's not true. I made a lot of mistakes, particularly at the very beginning, and you will, and that's okay. You wouldn't feel bad because nobody is born in this world knowing everything. You learn through experiences, and you understand. What you need to be shame of you is that if you go to that experience and you don't learn, and you don't get any lesson from that, yeah, that's your responsibility. But making mistakes, it's part of the process. So if you are doing that, if that is happening to you, take it positively. Said, this is an opportunity that life and God are giving me to learn, because otherwise I should be learning this. So My first thing is making mistakes is the easiest and the fast and the safest way of learning these things. The second thing about security about yourself is that it was incredible, but the first time that I felt this kind of insecurity in this high level, where I've been threatened twice to my life, twice in the presidential campaign, two explicit threats to kill me, and that's why I started living with bodyguards and everything. And at the very beginning, it's shocking. Of course, in the first weeks, you're saying, "What's going on?" It's I can go out of this restaurant and I will be killed, and that's it. But what I'm telling you is, it's incredible how we human beings, the capacity that we have to adjust and the capacity that we have to normalize things. When you go to many places in the world that you feel and you see that they are living under horrible conditions, but when you are in their worlds, for them, unfortunately, that's the normal. And that's horrible, but for them, they are already get accustomed to that situation. So what I'm saying is that after a few months that I start living under those conditions, I normalize it, and for me it was like normal, and I accepted the way that, yes, if I cross the street, maybe someone kill me, and that's it. I normalize it. It was like I already incorporated the risk, and I could live functionally with that. So the second idea that I will give it to you is that your own species, you belong to the Homo sapiens species, and that will give you the tools to normalize those things. The other thing which give me a lot of strength is the purpose. As I said in the first session, I told you how you're going to navigate through that. How you're going to navigate through that. And I told you, you're going to navigate through that through love. And I said, what? Yeah, please, Julio, don't get too romantic, because we're dealing with serious things. Well, that's the problem of serious people, that serious people miss the most important things, which is this thing, love. Love make all this happen. Why? Because, as I said, parents, the most indisciplined guy, the most irresponsible guy, the guy who his life is health is, a complete chaos. And then he's a dad, and he discovered that he's going to be a dad. And after a few months, he changed, and everything changed, and he became responsible. He started working in 2 jobs. He was very ordered. It was loving father. What happened with this guy? What happened? An incredible transformation. Well, what happened? Love. Love. That's it. You don't need any other explanation. Love for their baby, the purpose, the mission. So that's exactly what is going to happen to you, is that you say, you could believe maybe, but Julio, all these things that happened to him, all these things that, how he survived? Well, love. And what is love? My purpose. I believe. And that's the difference. When you believe that something can be done for people, that will give you the strength to survive. So that's why I'm telling you through these sessions that when you give 2 steps back, when something bad is happening to you, when you are confused about something, or you cannot make a decision, go 2 steps back and answer yourself, why I am here in the first place? Why I was here in the first place? Why? Well, I remember I wanted to improve people's life. Oh, okay, now I have clarity. That's the thing. Purpose is going to give you that. And what is purpose? Love. Love. That will give you the strength to go through that. And finally, the last comment that I could give it to you is that you will never will find perfection. Never. These ideas that or you fail or you succeed and put the world in a dichotomic way in which is black, white, day or night, it's completely a childish way of looking at life. Life It's a manifestation of different grace and different circumstances that you need to behave differently according to the time, according to the place, according to the circumstance. And there is not, never is going to be perfection. So what I mean is the following: is, for instance, and I have a student who asked me that question the other day in my leadership class in the School of Public Policy. They asked me, but professor, when we want to convince people to make this happen, what is the problem if we don't convince all of them? And I said, well, you will never convince all of them. The trick of this is you need to convince enough to make the change happen. Enough. Remember, Francisco Pizarro, in the third session that we talk about communication, the conqueror of the Americas, they have 65 soldiers, and they needed to convince them to go south to conquer the Inca Empire. And he only convinced 13 of the 65, but 13 were enough to take the boat, to go south, to discover the civilization, and to conquer them, returning to Spain. So that's my point. You don't need to convince everyone. You don't need to move everyone. You don't need everyone to like you. What you need is to convince enough people. What you need is to have enough people who like you to make that change. A parenthesis of this last thing that I'm telling you. The day that you are through this journey and you are feeling that everything is going well and people are liking you, that day, it means there is something wrong with you. That you need to go to the therapist and you need to find immediately a psychologist to treat you, because there will be never a circumstance in that everyone is going to like you, because it's how life works and how we human beings are. So my point is, don't try to be perfectionist, just to find enough resources that you need to make the change. The important thing is the change. The important thing is your purpose. The important thing is not you to be liked. The important thing is not for you to be loved. The important thing is not for you to be happy. The important thing is for people to be happy, not you. If you get confused about that, it means that there is no love. There is no purpose. You never had a purpose. If you are more worried about what is going to happen to you and how you're going to feel about this, it means that in the process, in the journey, you were not looking for change in people's life. You were looking for feeling an emptiness that you have inside of you.
Thank you, Julio, and thank you, Mary, for your great question.
Thank you.
I think we can take another question. I see some hands raised. Give me 1 second. Mbato, if you want to come off mute, you should be able to now.
Thank you, Natida. Thanks so much for your insight. You spoke around emotional maturity, particularly around ego management. I'm interested in emotional management, specifically when in high intense areas. So, based on your experience or on your perspectives, do you have an issue that you are passionate about that you try to raise either as a motion or a bill to pass, and you know there was a lot of resistance, but you were still passionate about it, you had evidence around it, and there was a lot of resistance, misinformation, personal attacks? And how are you able to manage your anger specifically when engaging, so people can focus on the issue at hand and not the noise that's surrounding the issue?
That's a wonderful question. And I have in one of the classes, in one of the courses that I teach, I have one class also dedicated to emotional maturity and what it means and how to to deal with that. That's really important. First of all, what I will say is that if you feel that anger, the first thing is to treat yourself properly, to give credit to you. You are a human being, and there are going to be things that are going to be frustrated to you. And if you are exercising leadership, has nothing bad to do if you are feeling angry. That's okay. You are through a lot of stress, and that's completely normal that you feel that. What is going to be different, and what is going to differentiate you from the rest, because you are the one who has exercising leadership, is how you manage that feeling. And and you can manage that feeling in different ways. The first thing, it's a concept that is called absorbing the heat. And absorbing the heat, it's the recognition that the things that you are proposing are going to create friction and are going to create opposition. And as I said, from the people that are going to lose, but also for the people that are going to win. You're going to get surprised, Mabatu. You're going to get surprised that the treasons, the people that are going to, the traitors that are going to keep you on the back, are not going to be your enemies. The traitors are going to be people on your own circle, the people who are supposed to like you and to follow you. Treason are going to come from there, not from your enemies. Remember that. So how you do that? First, you need to absorb the heat, which means that if you recognize that you're going to create friction because of your proposal, because of the nature, you need to be aware that if you have the right to be angry, people also have the right to be angry and frustrated because of your proposals, because they are uncomfortable. So you have two options. One option is to confront them and to say, no, I'm right and you are wrong. No, because that's one option. The other option is to listen to them and hear all their frustrations, all the things that they have to do with you, because they're going to blame on you. They're not going to blame on your idea. They're going to blame on you. And listen to them and absorb the heat and tell them what I do. And I learned to do that very well, is to tell them, you know what? I understand you. I really understand you. Because if I will be in your position, I will be thinking the same. So I cannot criticize you. I understand your point. And let me tell you something. You start explaining, we are doing this for this purpose and whatever. But my point is the following. I got it. I got how you feel. And I will understand. What is going to happen from there are two things. First of all, the person of the group who is putting the heat on you, they're going to take everything out. Because that's what they want. Most people, and that's another thing that is going to be really helpful for you. Most people, when they are complaining to you, they are complaining to your person, but indeed, at the very in the bottom, they are not complaining about you. They are complaining because they feel uncomfortable with the idea and the situation. It's not about you. If you understand that and they take everything out from them, it's going to be positive for you because they don't have that anymore. And after that conversation, when they put everything out, they're going to be much more relaxed. They say, oh, I said everything, and the frictions against you are going to be lower. This is the first thing. But the second thing that you're going to achieve doing those things is that you're going to get more respect and more trust. People are going to say, they're going to tell you things, because you're doing this and you're that, and you start listening. And at the very end, they will say, oh my God, I talked to Mabato and I told her all these things and she was so calm and so cool and never overreacted. So they are going to respect you more than before that meeting. So those are my recommendations. How do you deal with everything that you have received? How do you deal with everything that you have received, all the criticism and everything? Well, my recommendation is what I said, is go to the people that you love. At the end of the day, when you are feeling like this, that you are not understood, that you feel alone, that nobody understands your decisions, that you have good intentions and everything, and you have all this load, what do? Look for the people that love you. Look for your best friend. Look for your family members. Look for your partner and share with them what are you feeling. And they will listen to you and they will give you that comfort that you need. But my recommendation is don't get that anger. You can discuss, you can argue with your followers and your team, you can argue, but never put that anger on them because that is gonna is gonna fire you back. I don't recommend that. So, Natida, I don't know if there is another question or I can make the final comments to the presentation. I think we have only 4 minutes.
Yeah,
To
I
finish.
think Julio, you can go ahead. Thank you so much,
All
Miguel.
right. Okay. Thank you very much for the question. So we talk about this, we talk about that, and now um, what I like to finish is with something that I just shared in the last two questions that I received is how to deal with this whole process and how it's gonna give you a strength. And I remember one question in one of the first of the second session. I remember that one asked how we're gonna deal with that. That they don't feel enough. Even in the last session, someone asked about how I'm gonna get attention from people if I don't have the credentials, right? If I don't have the credentials, how they're gonna listen to me, to my ideas and everything. And I start sharing ways to deal with that. But the question that I asked myself to at the very beginning when I started this journey many years ago, I said, how can I gonna do that? I'm gonna confront really powerful people with a lot of money, powerful people with political power, very evil people at the same time, and very and other people that are gonna pushing me to do things and how I'm gonna do that? How I'm gonna survive? How I'm gonna do that with my family? How I'm gonna do that? And I didn't know. And in the process, as long as I was experiencing things, I understood that the best source of strength that you have to deal with all of that, it's love. It's true love. That's exactly as the story of the medieval knight said. That if you have your purpose, and I'm returning to the first session, if you have clarity on your purpose and the things that you want to do really, and you really believe on that, you will find the strength, and you will be amazed. You will be amazed on the things that you are really able to do, and get out from your comfort zone because of the things that you believe. And I will encourage you, to all of you, that after you go to this journey and you learn all this process, you share this with others. Because as I started, I had a lot of worries, of insecurities, and I discovered that myself alone. And I think it would be really nice and really powerful and effective if you can do that with others. If you acknowledge through your experience that some of the things that I share with you make sense, then share it with others, because others will appreciate it very much and will make their lives less complicated. And I would like to end it up here because we are all over the time, but to thank you, all of you, for the time, for this month and a half that we have been together. I hope that it has been useful for you. And remember you that we are here to help you. As Mario Picon said in the very beginning and a few times, we want to help you in any way. If you believe that your team, your organization, the group of people that you are working will benefit from this kind of lectures of sharing, we are there. We can do something. We can arrange something. We can organize something. Or even we can adjust some of the contents of the structure of the presentation to fit what your organization may want to have. But we are here to help. And my final gratitude to R4D to have this amazing idea to create this network to share things with you. As I said, bad people are really good to organize themselves, to coordinate and to cooperate themselves to make bad things. And good people with good intentions, we are really, really bad at trying to get together and to share things. And we need to learn that, to how to share and how to interchange ideas and to learn from each other. So thank you very much again for your participation, and I hope this is not going to be the last time that we see each other. Thank you very much.